It's so good to come to Northern California. I live in LA, and I love to come up here because it's not hot here, you know. Seriously, I didn't know. I always like bring all these sweaters and stuff, and I got here yesterday, and I went, where am I? It is good to be here, though. I've got a long connection with your church going way back, and with John. And when John called me and asked me to come, I was just overjoyed. So it is really, really good to be here. Now, let me contextualize a little bit what we're going to talk about this morning. You guys have been in a series called Too Close for Comfort, and that's about relationships and marriage and getting close to people. And when John and I were talking about what I wanted to talk about, I just had a book come out called Boundaries for Leaders. And because a lot of my work, most of my work actually is spent with CEOs and executive teams and companies, I told John, I said, it's so fascinating because all of that material, which is basically, as we'll see, about how the brain works in relationships, in business, all of that material I found that I've been sharing with people, not only if they're leading a company, but in the relationships, how they lead each other, and how they interact in marriage or in family. And if it's, a mom or dad trying to move a vision forward, and the vision is to get the kids with their lunches packed and in the van by 8 o'clock, that you got to get a team together to make that result happen. Or it's in a relationship where you've got a vision that you're trying to build together, or it's in a company. God has designed the brain to work in relationships in a certain way. And if you think about it, when people are trying to accomplish a vision, then they all kind of do the same things, right? You've got a desired result, and you engage talent to get it to go there, and then you start to execute a plan, and then you see how you're doing and measure it, and you hold each other accountable, and then you try to get there and you fix it, and then get back on track. And if that's what everybody is doing, whether it's in marriage or in a company, why is it that some people get results and others don't? Why is that? Because we're all trying to accomplish some sort of vision in life or in business or in marriage. And we all start to move down that path. And why is it that some people get results and some don't? And that's what we're going to talk about this morning, because a lot of times the reason is this, that we're getting results when we are leading and relating to people in ways that their brains can actually follow and that their brains can actually work. And what we find is it's all right there in the Bible. So that's a little bit about what we're going to talk about. Now I'm not going to stand up here and act like, you know how shrinks do. I'm a psychologist by training, if you guys didn't know that. We kind of like sometimes sound like, we're talking about all these issues and problems as if we don't have any. And I'm a truly garden variety dysfunctional person, so I just wanted to say hi to you guys from the beginning. And I was thinking about that and just, all of my issues. And recently I was telling a group that one of my big ones is I travel a lot, sort of one day fly here and back, and I'll get in late and I'm working with some business or something, way across the country, and I come back and I get off of my routine of working out and my healthy eating. Both of those have a lot to do with, because when I'm at home, my wife is watching. And so I travel, I'll get in late, and I've got an early meeting, and I don't go to the gym. And so if I have a bunch of trips, kind of back to back, I get fat. And so what was happening was I'm like just gaining weight. This was a little while back. And I'm going, I got to get back on my and I got to do this. And good night, look at that number. I've got to do this. And I kept telling myself I got to do this, and I'm not doing it. So I'm reading one of those stupid books I write, and what it said was, if you say you're going to do something and you really want to do it, and you're going to do it, and you tell yourself you're going to do it, and you're not doing it, you're not going to do it. It said it right there in the book, and I wrote it. And so I keep reading, and it says, therefore, what you got to do is you got to get some kind of help from the outside. So I called the gym, and I got a trainer. So I go to the gym, and they assign me this young, mean, skinny woman. So I'm there at 6 o'clock in the morning, And I'm going through this, and we start, and I go back, and I go back, and I go back, and I keep doing this, and I keep doing this, and I'm so proud of myself. I'm back on the program, and I'm working it, and I'm doing all this, and I'm so excited because I'm really working it now. It felt like, forever. My wife says maybe a week and a half, but I'm on the program. So I'm there a couple of weeks into this, and she's got me, the mean lady, she's got me with this big bar, and I'm doing all these exercises trying to strengthen my core, whatever that is. And so right in the middle of it, I stop and I look at her and I go, oh no. She said, what? I said, we forgot to take the before pictures. She looks at me and she says, oh, we still can. What trainer school did she go to? That's not motivating, all right? But I say that to say this. The stuff we're going to talk about this morning is not something you just get immediately. It's a process of growth, and it's a process of change. And what I love to do with all kinds of contexts is I love to be in the war rooms of growing things with people and to see their talents and their dreams and their visions come to reality. And once we begin to do that in ways that can actually work, it gets really, really exciting. So I want to share a few of those this morning. I want you to listen with both ears. Listen to what you're trying to build in your relationship, too close for comfort, in your marriage or your dating life. Do not have both of those. Pick one. That was a joke. It's okay. Come on, guys. This is the 10 o'clock group. You guys laugh, right? Any kind of significant relationship. Your teams at work, your organization, your kids, all the stuff we talk about this morning is going to be how neuroscience basically validates and shows how what God is telling us is really, really true. I remember when I was getting deep into this research, I'm reading it and I'm going, it's almost like the person that invented the brain read the Bible. You'll get that later. Okay. What are these things? I'm going to share a handful of them with you. The first one is this. For your brain to accomplish anything, to go from A to Z, to accomplish a vision or a goal or gain market share or build a marriage that lasts or get the kids ready to go to school, for those brains to be able to do anything, to move a goal from A to Z, your brain basically does three functions. The first thing it has to do is it must attend to the relevant stuff, the relevant stimuli, and the relevant activities that are going to get you there. Okay? So whatever you call this, focus, attention, whatever it is, your brain must attend to what's going to make it happen. That's the first one. The second one is your brain actually must be able to shut everything else out. Multitasking is a joke as far as brain science goes. Doesn't mean you can't have a lot of projects going on, but what it does mean is if your brain cannot attend to something and shut everything else out, it will not do what it's supposed to do. That's why, read the research, texting and driving, it does not work. From research, if you're in the flow really working on something and your brain is firing from the higher parts of it, the creativity, the problem solving, the adapting, all the stuff you need to make a deal work or to make a project work, and you stop because an email comes in, and you check that email, and your brain shifts to focusing on this shuts down, this starts up, and you think it only took a minute or two. What research shows is what you actually lost net output from your brain on the first thing you were doing can be up to 20 minutes, even if it only took 2 or 3. Because of the flow, because of what was being created, because you unplug, you got to start up here, you're running another program, the battery goes down as you're doing that, and you shift back, and it's amazing. It kind of reduces a Stanford MBA to like a lizard, that's what the research shows. So I say all this to say this, for us to get anywhere, we got to be able to shut other things out and focus on a marriage, on each other, or on a vision in a company. And the third thing we have to do is we got to keep it in front of us. We got to keep it current. It's called working memory. So you can't have this great moment and where you're working on this and connecting with each other and then not do it again for a year. I can't drop you out of a time machine. You know, if you think of like driving your car from here to 7-Eleven. Have I said this? You know, when you do 4 services, it's really weird. I'll say something, I go, I just said that. But that wasn't to you, that was to the other guys, right? Okay, so if you're driving your car from here to 7-Eleven, to accomplish that vision, what do you have to do? You got to attend to certain relevant stimuli. The speed, what lane you're in, oncoming traffic, what your next turn is. There's stuff you got to focus on. And then you got to shut out everything else, no texting. But the third thing is I can't drop you out of a time machine in the car and you know what to do next because you don't know what you just did. And see, our relationships are like that. If we're not on a path of focusing on building something and keeping that current and having structures built in that make us do that, then the intimacy or the connection or the moments don't build because that's how God designed us. You can't grow a plant by dipping it in the dirt once a year. All right, it's got to have roots where it's taking on a process. So this first thing about attention is so important for your relationships as well as your business. You know, on the relationship side, it doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure out ways to do this. All we're talking about is making sure that you've come together and said, what is the vision for our relationship? What do we want to build with each other? And then once you do that, to make sure that you've built in even structures to make sure that there is time in all the busyness and all the thousands of ways we get pulled into, you know, this activity and that circle of friends and this committee and that group and all of that, that you've built in structures where the main thing is kept the main thing. My wife and I, for example, when I got married a little later in life. Nobody would have me before then. I was kind of mid-30s or so. And then we didn't have kids for 5 or 6 years. And so we were just used to it being the two of us, and we had all this time together, and we were, you know, just dating all the time, right? And so then kids came, and what we found was that I finally had to do one of those cheesy things that you read in the books, like have date night. And that just seemed before, it's like, why do we need that? I need golf night. I don't need another night, you know. But with all this stuff, we needed to make it so we could attend, inhibit, and keep it current. So what we did was we hired a babysitter after Olivia, our first daughter, was born. We hired a babysitter and hired her, not call her every week, but she was going to be there every Thursday night at like 5:30 or 6. And we were going out to attend to our relationship, to focus on each other. And then she was going to come on Sunday afternoon, because by Sunday afternoon with a newborn, you're crazy. And y'all didn't experience that? She was going to come at like 4 o'clock, and we were going to unplug and just go do whatever. Now, the thing about this is when you build in structures like that, it causes the relationship to make sure that you have time that you're attending. And it's like that with our kids. It's like that with our community. If you're single, I used to do this with a family in graduate school. A family sort of adopted me because I moved to California and I didn't have family. And we called it Wednesday night family night. And it was basically me and them. And we would cook out and just have fun. But it was a structure. And every Wednesday night I was at their house. It's kind of like our small group. So there's a million ways to do this. A million ways. And if you're a business leader and you have a team or, a company or an organization, this gets so lost today. Because here's what happens. We know where we're headed, but there's so much stuff that comes in, and you go have this offsite, and you got the plan and the strategy, and then the next morning the CEO's emailing everybody with 46 other things when we thought this was the main thing, and we lose it over time. And I've seen companies where they don't even go back and look at their strategic plan for 6 or 8 months. And that was what we were supposed to be doing. If you recall, when Steve Jobs went back to Apple,